Just a little JL audio install. Use the factory bracket and everything. Build a plate off the factory subwoofer and all. Alright, what we got back here, guys? Back in the shop. Got a stereo system I gotta put in for one of my buddies. Got a 2018 F-150. We're taking the stock subwoofer out, stock amplifier out, and we are installing two JL10s, a set of components in the rear and a set of components in the front of the truck. And we're also doing a mid-range JL audio amplifier. We're going to keep the factory head unit, and we're doing a JL component set. I'm going to try to film as much as I can. Pretty much it's a ton of work trying to get all this stuff kind of put in. I have to run a pretty much run an 8-gauge power wire for my mids and highs amplifier, my smaller amplifier, which is a 400x4 by JL Audio, and I'm going to run a 4-gauge amplifier wiring kit for the 1000 monoblock amplifier, which I am going to mount both of the amplifiers. I'm going to build a actual plate that goes here, build it out of wood, and mount the amplifiers up against this back wall right here, so it's not on the speaker box bamming everything together. And I just think that'll work out a lot better, have it all in one area, a lot cleaner. And so we're going to get rolling, get after it. Okay, what we got here is you have 3 bolts that actually hold this piece in. One that's actually connected to the top of this factory amplifier mount, top right, and then you have one on each bottom side. Once you get these bolts here out, you're actually able to lift this piece up out of there, and you can remove this piece. You can actually use this piece as a template if you wanted to, or if you needed to, for some odd reason. You could use it as a template, so you can actually bolt the piece of wood back in here to where you don't have to do no kind of screwing or anything like that. But other than that, like I say, you just pretty much, you'll take these bolts right here out. You'll get these bolts out, and once you get these bolts out, you'll be able to lift this piece right up. And it's really easy to do. Like I say, just pretty much you get those 3 bolts out and the subwoofer piece comes out. And like I say, you can use this as a template if you want to, if you need it. But that's pretty much how you get that piece out there. And we're going to take and do a wood platform, basically. We'll be taking this factory amplifier out of here, removing it completely, and yeah, so we're gonna get after it, continue to do it. What we got here is we're installing an LC7i. It is a 6-channel adaptable unit for the factory radio, so we can run the aftermarket amplifiers. And what you got here is you have this plate. Well, there's 2 7mm screws behind this, so we can get that out. It's almost like you're going to break this piece, but it's just really tight in there. It's just super tight. You get that pulled off. Like I say, there's 4 clips 4 clips in it right there, and then that will let's get this out of the way. That will actually open up the piece where you can get the 2 7mm screws out. Once you get those out, you'll be able to pop this piece up, pop it up out of the way, and you're gonna have 2 7mm screws behind it on this unit here. Then you'll be able to pop out the front unit. So we're gonna get after it and show y'all kind of somewhat how it's done. All right, what you got here is you have 3 connectors up here that have the small tiny tabs on the side. You will push those. You can take a pick, or you can use your fingernail if you got a fingernail. I hate it if you don't, but I just take my fingernail, just push it over, and unplug the 3 from the top. You have 2 in the middle here, which is controls the actual pieces to the head unit itself. You have these connectors here. All right, these are the 2 connectors for the radio head unit itself for the DVD or the CD player. Don't many people use the CD player that much anymore because everything's Bluetooth, but we're going to get our wires together, and I'm going to show you the harness and all, and it's pretty much a plug and play on this part here. We're going to lay this up like this so we don't scratch it or anything. We'll lay that up there. It fits up there perfect. It's out of your way. And we're going to get the harness. We're going to need to pull this radio here out, and we're going to need to pull this out so we can actually get our hand down into the dash to feed the wires down through it. We're going to go down the driver's side and run it back, and we're going to run all the power on the passenger side because the battery is on the passenger side of the front. So it's a good thing to try to keep your power wire and your speaker wires and your RCAs. If you do run RCAs, try to run them on the other side if you can, because it'll actually help with like engine noise or anything like that if you got like bad grounds and stuff like that. So that'll help it out a lot too. I've been doing this stuff for a pretty good while. The newer vehicles are a little bit more, you have a lot of this and everything else. It's just a lot more wiring, and you have to be a lot more careful, because if not, then you'll have a ton of engine noise. So I try to run the power wire on the left hand side, or the power wire away from the speaker wires and the RCA wires. Keep them separate if you can, if all possible. All right, so once you get your head unit, your lower head unit out, you want to focus on getting the plug that fits your application, depending on which application you have. Therefore, we have one for F-150 2018 model. So we're going to take and unplug this out the back of the radio here, and you're going to move those. You're going to make your connection here, plug this harness in, and the opposite side that you have left over, that's what you plug back into the actual head unit itself. So we're going to plug that head unit back in. Once we get that plugged in, we've already got our wire ran on the side of the truck. I know I say a lot of ums, but I just can't help it. But here we go with, I'm trying to work on that, because I definitely say that a lot. But the wiring harness that we're going to run up beside, we're going to plug in here, and once we get that plugged in, we can take and start feeding everything back into the dash, and we will be done with this part of the install. Then we can move on to, we have to put the components in the doors. I have to mount the tweeters into the door. Once we get those finished up, then we can start moving towards making the stuff in the rear. You kind of want to find a point to where you can get, all right, I can get this right here knocked out, then I can turn around and get everything else knocked out around me from the front to the rear. So this was one of the main things that I needed to get done first, so I can put the dash and everything back together, and we will not have to touch this again because all of our inputs and our outputs will be in the back of the truck. So we're gonna get this wire ran up in here, get this plugged up, and then we're gonna reinstall everything. Again, so if you're installing, once you get that installed, before you plug that up, always make sure that you have your power wires actually like crimped off or something like that, to where you ain't got to worry about anything backfeeding once you switch the vehicle on. And what I'm talking about, at the end of this harness, which I just dropped the tape, but all I'm going to do is tape it up. But at the end of this harness, I don't know if it'll focus, you actually have a power wire and a ground wire. This is what goes to the line converter. This piece here, LC7I. I keep on wanting to say it backwards. And we would be working in the shop, but a pile of stuff all in there at the moment. So we're working right outside the shop today. All right, this is what I was talking about. I don't know if it'll focus or not, but yeah, just tape the ends up, and you're going to pull your panels off and run it down the side of the panel. I'm shooting for in there behind the seat to get this back there. Got to take all this, get this all cleaned up and stuff, kind of get it back nice again. We'll be making sure that got everything tied up and everything like that. I use pretty good bit of zip ties just because I like to make it as neat as possible as I can. Don't like for stuff to be hanging out and you can pull on it, or if it it can work itself loose, out of the amplifier or something like that, which I've never really had that issue because I make sure that they're all tight and all. But I have seen some stuff, for sure. I've seen some stuff that just I don't understand how people gets away with it. In the car stereo world, I've seen anything from light switches being put in to switch the amp on and off because it's got a draw, because they hooked everything up to the 12-volt battery instead of having an accessory. I mean, I've seen some stuff before, and it's pretty wild that people let that stuff go like that. But I don't know, but that's definitely not how I do it. That's one thing I take pride in is wiring. I try to do as good a job as I would want to do for myself. I do it for everyone else. So I most definitely like to take pride in that kind of work right there. And I've been doing car stereo stuff since I was 13 or 14 years old. I started working at a car stereo shop. One of my buddy's uncles owned a shop here in town, and we would go there after school every day basically, and we would work. So I learned a lot from those guys, and my cousin, he taught me a pretty good bit of stuff. Another one of my buddies, Brian, a lot of older guys, they kind of took me up under their wing, taught me a pretty good bit. But you learn every day. You learn every day. It don't matter what you take on, you're gonna learn every single day on something. It could be the same vehicle, five of the same vehicles be completely different. You just never know. But a majority of the time, like I say, once you kind of get in the groove of things and you start learning how to do this, a majority of it is popping door panels off and dashes to make sure that you don't break any of them. Make sure you get all the screws out of it. If you're putting bigger speakers in the doors, always double check and make sure that the window will go up and down. You don't want to put such a big component speaker in the door and it sticks so far in that the window, when you let the window down, it hits it, or either you scratch, you'll have a big old, you'll see a bunch of them, they'll have a big old scratch leaning up the door right here because it's just borderline sticking in the door. So with that being said, let me quit yapping. Let me get back to work. Got that all plugged in. We're going to get this put back in. We're going to go ahead and get our wire ran, tucked in or inside of our foot panel right here, and then we'll start moving on to, I've got to mount tweeters, and I'm going to mount the tweeters where the door shuts. The tweeters will be perfectly in line to go in right here between this filler panel here. So they're going to be mounted in this, and we're putting JL tweeters in there. So these are a really nice tweeter, flush mount. So like I say, it'll be, you know, here. I like to do more of a flush mount deal with this, but this is what my buddy ordered, so this is what we got to install. I like the flush mount. The flush mount. Let me see if I can show y'all what I mean by flush mount, which most people in the stereo world will know exactly what I'm talking about, but I've got some right here in my bagger, wherever my lid is at. Okay, okay. So here we go. So this is one of my saddle bags, the top of my bagger. One day whenever I get back to working on it. But this is the flush mount. This is what I'm talking about as far as flush mounts. Really nice, smooth. Massive makes a very amazing tweeter. I really like their tweeters, all aluminum, anodized, hardened, everything. The grill's very, you know, there's no plastic in these. So they make for a very nice tweeter. And then, like I say, there's the hole there, and then you can see what I mean by the flush mount. All right, so enough of that, me rambling. Let me get back to work. Gotta try to get as much as I can get knocked out. Oh yeah, got this bad mammer jammer drop down in there. So we're gonna continue. I forgot all about that. I ain't had time to really, I haven't had a lot of time to really record much because I've been so busy and Thanksgiving's coming up and everything else. So, alrighty, let me get back to work. All right, so what we got here is I'm making a template to hold the amplifiers on the back wall, and come up with, I've got this main piece here, which I'm gonna actually drill a small hole here so I can actually still bolt it up right there. Just clearance and everything. I've got to cut that out of the piece here, cutting this out here so it will actually fit up under. It'll follow this kind of the pattern, I guess you should say. So I've about got it pretty much made. So we're doing that there. And that's what we got going so far. So just giving y'all an update. All right. This is what we pretty much came up with on the amp platform. I got the small amplifier here, the subwoofer amplifier here, and the LC7i on this end. I'm actually going to cut these grooves right here out, cut them out. I'm going to make some here, here, and here for the wires to come through the platform. I think it's just a lot cleaner look. And then, like I say, we're gonna get it. We got it all trimmed up and everything like it needs to be, and it's getting there. So pretty much, once what we're gonna do is take and pull all our wires up behind the platform, because there's enough space right here. I'm gonna pull it up behind the platform and pull it through the platform, and then we'll bolt it here, and we'll bolt it over there with a bracket to that bottom of that corner of that seat right there. So it'll be sturdy, and I'll actually bolt another bolt through the bottom of it here on this side, and that'll be plenty of sturdiness. So I think I'm about to call it, and we'll get back on this thing tomorrow. All right, guys. So what I come up with, guys, got the amps mounted, and this is pretty much hard mounted. You can kind of see I just took a 1/2 inch piece of birch. I had some black carpet, some thin black carpet that I covered it so it would match pretty good, and this is what we got. So gotta walk around all this stuff I got going on today. Axles finally came in for this Jeep so I can get it knocked out. So got a catastrophic bunch of wires back here. I only had 2 hands, and it takes both hands to get it up in here, but you can kind of visualize what we got going on here. Once I get it all bolted in, I've got the factory bolt that I'm going to use to bolt into here, and then I have another bolt that goes into the bottom, and I got the bracket piece that I made to bolt into the other side over there. But once I'll get a little bit better video once I get it all wired in and everything. So I've got 2 RCAs that are coming from the LC7i coming over to the mid-range and highs amplifier, which is 4-channel. So I have 1 RCA coming from the LC7i going to the JL amplifier that's going to be pushing the 210s that go up under the seat. But once I get everything wired in, you'll kind of see I done a 4-gauge, like we talked about. I done a 4-gauge amp kit for the JL sub, and then I done an 8-gauge amp kit for the JL 400. And like I say, we're in the short roads, but we're getting there. All right, guys, got her all wired in. Really clean look. All smooth. Everything's tucked. I can't help those factory wires. Those factory wires were kind of, they go all to the back of the seat and everything else, but yeah, it's pretty clean. Well, now all we got to do is put the subwoofers. Just got to put the subwoofers in and call it a wrap. They also want me to take the blocks out of the rear so it'll drop it 1.5 inches because it sits up a little bit higher in the rear than it does the front, and they don't like that. So I'm gonna take the factory block out and try to get it leveled up and go from there. But for the most part, we got what we wanted to do knocked out. Got the components and all put in the door. There was just so much I couldn't record doing the doors and everything. I wanted to, but I have another video that is earlier on that I done pretty much the same component speakers and all, not the same ones, but another set of speakers and doors of a truck just like this one. And I have the video if y'all want to go back and check it out. So I didn't feel like y'all would have to watch me take the door panels off and everything else. But if you do need help with getting the door panels and everything off, I have an earlier video if you want to go back and check those out. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Can't really play no music on here because, you know, I get copyrighted, but for the most part, I was just wanting to show y'all, you know, kind of my day-to-day in and out deal on doing the stereo equipment. So I got that done. I just got to put all the floor panels and everything back in. Once I get done with that, like I say, I'm going to move on removing the blocks, and like I say, it's a very easy process. But thank y'all for checking it out, and I hope y'all enjoyed it. I love doing the car stereo stuff. I don't have as much time to do the car stereo stuff as I'd like to. I used to do a ton of it all the time. That's kind of where I started out. Doing. That's where I learned a lot of wiring and everything else. But yeah, hope y'all enjoyed this one. Y'all like and subscribe. Appreciate it. Check y'all later.